Please join us up on the stage. Big round of applause. And she will be introducing her co-panelists. You're the senior advisor at SkyBridge Capital.
Correct.
Amazing. Do you need a clicker?
I don't think so.
You don't think so? Okay. Please take any seat you want and introduce your co-panelists, and we'll ask them to join you on stage, and it's all yours.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Oh, sorry, screaming. After lunch slot, my favorite, but it is a very exciting topic on how NFTs are transforming games. We have an addition to the panel as well. We're going to be having Anna from Cointelegraph joining us. I think I see all the panelists in the room, so I'd just like to invite Jay Moore to the stage, Toby Bauer, Anna, Adrien, if he's in the room. Yep, Adrien. And I haven't seen Jonathan Caras here. He is? Jonathan, excellent. So I'm just going to quickly speak on behalf of the panelists when I say that we believe that NFTs are really poised to be the next evolution in in-game microtransactions. In fact, it's an evolution that's already started, but there are obviously some risks involved because it is still a very nascent asset class. So I've got 5 stellar panelists. We've got 30 minutes. So to kick things off, I'd just like to ask everyone to introduce themselves, starting with Jay.
Good afternoon. I'm really excited about everybody else on the panel. I've been in video games for 30 years and have done a number of things that I'm excited and proud of, but I've never been as proud of what I see blockchain being able to do for the next generation. And it has everything to do with the fact that now we can not just make fun, but we can make a difference. And I really believe that that's what we're on the very beginning of. We're gonna look back at this and say, boy, were we early. It was just first thing. But truly, gaming is going to disrupt blockchain. And that's where we're at today. I'm really excited to see where we go from here and how this next generation of entertainment actually, what is it, paid to earn. Or play to earn, excuse me. I coined a phrase called paid to play back in 2008, but didn't take on it until what I've seen now in NFT space.
Hello, my name is Anna Tutova. I'm CEO of Cointelegraph, and we have a group of companies, including Crypto Fund, News Media, YouTube channel White Crypto, and PR marketing agency. So we support different blockchain, crypto, gaming projects with publications into financial, business, crypto media, influencer marketing, and social media campaigns. And great to be on this panel. And gaming is probably one of the biggest use cases for the use of NFTs, and currently it's a 168 billion market, and it's supposed to grow to 268 billions by 2025. And it's a great scene for the mass adoption and spreading awareness about crypto industries through NFTs, as currently there are around 3.1 billion gamers worldwide. Still, NFT games is a very small niche in comparison to traditional gaming, but anyway, it helps to bring more people to our industry.
Awesome. Thank you so much. My name is Toby. I'm from Blockchain Founders Fund. Thanks, Rachel, for having us here, and thanks for the event. We're an early stage venture capital fund, and we've been backing gaming startups in the blockchain space for almost 3 years now. We had the first investment in a company called Splinterlands. I don't know how many of you know about that company, but it's now the largest blockchain, or the second largest blockchain game in the world. And since then, we've always tried to, get our foot in the door and try to understand the space. And it's just fascinating, right? Because for the first time now, you can actually own something in a game. And if you ever played League of Legends or any other game and you just bought in-game assets, but you didn't really own them, right? And now this opens a whole different economy, a whole different ownership landscape within gaming, which has already been a tremendous market on a global scale. And even on an emerging market scale, it's been tremendously successful. And since we covered global investments in the blockchain space, with the new fund, which is launched out of Singapore, it's been very much Web3 and gaming focused to an extent. And we, just very excited about the space and happy to be here. Thank you.
Adrien Moisson, I'm the artistic director of Cross the Edges that we are launching next month in Dubai, and the marketing director of PayFoot, which is a metaverse of football. And I'm really excited to talk about the gaming industry because the revolution is already there with Axie Infinity making 1 billion in revenue. You know that the gaming industry is already bigger than the cinema, twice bigger, but I think it's gonna grow really faster, especially because from a game, you have a whole universe to develop. So you can have like comics, you can have films, you can have series. You've seen, I think, Arcane in Netflix, which is voted as one of the biggest series in Netflix. So yeah, gaming is totally revolutionized by NFT.
Hi, I'm Jonathan Caras. I'm head of communications at Levana Protocol. Levana Protocol is a gamified perpetual swap platform that's built on the Terra Cosmos ecosystem. NFTs are the Trojan horse that will bring the next 100 million consumers to the world of DeFi and the world of self-sovereign cryptocurrency and banking. And we're excited to make that bridge to help educate the value drivers that crypto brings to the world as a whole, and to do it in a fun and exciting way.
That's great, thank you. And I want to pick up on a number of those points. And it's great that we have a variety of, investors, developers, people that have worked in the traditional gaming space as well. And also pick up on some of the points you made about the emerging markets as well there, Toby. But just to start then, when we look at how NFTs are disrupting gaming, very broad question, I realize, but let's just answer that one first and then dive down into some of the specifics. So maybe Jay, talk a bit about, how you do see NFTs disrupting gaming and where are we in the evolution and what's coming?
Well, I mean, games have had economies and their own tokens for many years, but we've never had liquidity. And I think that the key for what NFTs allow, and obviously there's lots of different classifications in games, but we've been dealing with like your own virtual property for a long time. Now you can actually profit from it rather than just pay for it, which has been the case when we didn't have liquidity. And I think if you look at your entertainment and the fact that as AI does more for humans and there's less time required for us for labor, we're going to look for other ways to get rewarded. And we're seeing it right now in the early days of NFTs and games. But if you have one type of entertainment where you're actually getting compensated for play versus one that you're not, we're going to completely revolutionize the IP that's out there. And so you're not going to be able to compete with an ecosystem where you're actually getting, as a consumer, to be rewarded versus one where you're actually just paying for it and not being rewarded. So I mean, it's kind of a simple fundamental, but it's clear that when Activision sells to Microsoft and the CEO says it's because we're building out the content for the metaverse, that this is a sea change. It's already happened.
And Jonathan, you mentioned your opening comments as well, that NFTs and the play to earn are really changing the rules of gaming. Maybe you could elaborate on that and whether you disagree or agree with Jay.
Well, it's interesting once you know that you own the assets that you receive and that they can't be seized from you. So that's a very powerful driver to invest more of your time and to actually own and value the economy that you help create. NFTs are a 0 to 1 technology within the gaming industry, because now it means that it's actually the community that can take that value and then migrate it from one gaming experience to another. Previously, before we had this technology, and this is just a technology that's foundational to blockchain as a whole, that when community members knew that the assets, whether it was the World of Warcraft gold that they owned or a spaceship that they may have had in some type of space battle experience, when those essentially were locked in and proprietary technology, that proprietary assets that you didn't actually own, but yet you licensed from the game developer. So that always created a barrier between myself and the value that I create within this environment. Now with NFTs, we can actually take the things that we own and third-party developers can create extended experiences off of them. It's easy to identify an existing community and then to be able to incentivize or provide rewards or discounts to that existing community. Imagine today if I could say, you know what, everyone that purchased the Darth Vader hat in Fortnite, I also want to be able to just drop to them my Star Wars type of engaged experience that I was going to create. That's something that's enabled by blockchain technology, and that's something that's enabled by NFTs. And I believe that we're just at the beginning of seeing how interoperability and composability, which are core tenets of blockchain and DeFi, will evolve the gaming experience and gaming as a whole.
And what are you seeing, Adrien? Because you're actually on the developers side. You were showing me some great NFTs that you'd created before. Where do you see, what you can create in that interoperability within the game world?
Yeah. Okay. In fact, what is really changing the NFT and the gaming is that even on the financement of gaming, it's changing everything, because now you can have studios which are really big since the beginning because they have the NFT technology and especially also the token. So you can have a lot of investment from the beginning to create a whole universe that after you can develop in a lot of different things. For example, in Cross the Ages, we are developing an NFT game with card game, but also comics, and we are developing books, and we are also thinking about series or films, because the game is not anymore only gaming. It's like culture. And a lot of media didn't talk about the gaming for a long time because they were afraid, because the parents were saying like, oh, my kid is staying too much on the computer. But in fact, now we know that it's the best way to learn something. So now a lot of companies are using games to teach different skills. And we know that it's only the beginning of this development. And as with the platform, you can go from one to another easily. You can have your whole universe developed in different kind of media. So it's really transmedia, it's really pluridisciplinary, and that's why the developers are really able to now stay in the place where they are born. For example, in Paris, as you were saying, there is a lot of developers and also graphic designer who were taken by the US, by Pixar, DreamWorks, or Disney. And now they are staying in Paris because the Web3 is really developing in Paris. You have smart box, you have a lot of company growing, Cross the Ages is in Marseille, and we can keep the talent in our country, but also work with a lot of different countries. We are working with more than 60 different countries, either Vietnam, Australia, USA, South America. And now with also Discord or Telegram, we have a way to have a team which is like fully connected. You don't have to set up meetings because you just ask a question on Discord, and like 1 hour after you have the response, you can have other people working together. So it's not only NFT, it's a whole ecosystem with the blockchain, with the NFTs, but also the financement by the token and the new app like WhatsApp, Discord, Telegram, and all this ecosystem is allowing us to work really faster, more efficiently also, without meetings with 20 people who doesn't know what to say and they need to say something something because if not, they are unuseful. You just go in the meeting where you are really relevant, and the rest of the time you are working or having fun with friends. So it changed totally the life, especially also with the COVID. Because people understood that you can work at home or you can work with like a few teams in different places in the world. And yeah, it's for me, it's really a total revolution, bringing also democracy, because everybody can talk to everybody. So you know if you are working well, if you are efficient, if you are at the good role, you can change your role whenever you want. And it's really interesting to see how the collaboration is growing faster and faster with this kind of NFT, because you're bringing value to your team also.
You know, you all raise interesting points, and the words that keep coming up are the culture of gamers. I don't know, do we have any gamers in the audience? So we have a couple. So from personal, I have friends that are gamers, and I have to say it's one of the strongest cultures that I've ever seen. You know, they play all night. It's a very strong community. So I actually just want to read, there was a quote from Square Enix president Yusuke Matsuda last month, and he said, "I realize that some people who play to have fun have voiced their reservations towards these new trends. However, I believe that there will be a certain number of people whose motivation is play to contribute, which I think will help make the game more exciting." So I'd just like to pick up on that piece. And when you look at motivations, how do you think that NFTs can make the game more exciting? I don't know, Toby or Anna, do you have something to say on motivations in gaming and how NFTs will help that?
No, it's a very interesting point in my opinion. So I think we have to look this a bit broader, just from the pure play to earn, what we sort of seen that you play because you earn money. But like what NFTs essentially open up is a full economy, right? So you essentially now, in my opinion, a lot more motivated because you can own assets, right? You can switch assets between essentially maybe games in the future, right? So like a whole ecosystem opens up for you. You can rent assets to your best friend because you have this amazing sword you're now owning into an incredible game. And we even doing this within an organization. We all play Splinterlands, and we switching cards, and it's a lot of fun because you're now essentially owning it, right? And I think that's where the critics goes a little bit from like, okay, now we only playing games now because we want to make money out of it, right? And that's one part of it. But like the whole other side from a utility perspective, where you have now a whole different landscape of ownership within a game, I think that's what makes it really, really exciting. And we are just at the beginning, right? I imagine, in the future, if Ubisoft, for example, or Tencent, you can switch your assets between games they're producing, right? I mean, that would incredible increase switching costs for other game developers, for example, or even in a perfect world when there will be a full interoperability that you can take any game and maybe even back a real estate loan or something, because essentially it's an asset, right? It's just a digital asset. So I think we have to think a lot broader, and I think that's where essentially the journey is going to go.
I consider NFTs as a great tool for gaming because it, first of all, allows interoperability, as Tobias already mentioned, that you can just transfer NFTs between different games, and you know that this item belongs to you, so it's in your ownership. And for example, in traditional games, maybe your account can be blocked, and you don't own, you don't have your asset anymore, and you paid a lot of money for it. But still, I think we're in very early stage, and blockchain games are only appearing, and still not many big companies got into the space. And currently the space is really quite very speculative, and a lot of people just play because they can own some tokens or own NFTs and sell them. It's a great thing in terms that a lot of people got access to some additional income, like especially in developing countries, like we see boom of NFT play-to-earn games in Philippines, Vietnam, Indonesia, or Latin America. Yeah, it's great stuff because a lot of people, especially during pandemic, were unemployed there, and it's just a great source of income for them. But still, we see some doubt among big corporations, among big gaming development companies. Some are starting to embrace NFTs in gaming, but a lot of companies just rejected to use NFTs due to some concerns, due to some bad feedback from the users, gamers.
So let's pick up on that point about how some of the bigger companies or some of the traditional video game companies are looking at NFTs. As you mentioned, we did have Microsoft announce the acquisition of Blizzard, and there was actually, I saw a quote from a small indie developer who said he would rather be shot in the knee than force NFTs into his award-winning titles. So there's a bit of a broad spectrum here of adoption. And how are you, maybe we start with you here, Jay, because I know you come from the traditional video gaming world.
I think anytime there's a change, humans take a minute to get around it. And I think that games designed with NFTs in mind are going to have a different experience than what we're getting right now with kind of the transitional period where we're kind of bolting them on a little bit. Not saying that the current games don't exploit it, but they're not as innovative as I think we're going to see. But to that point, I think, free to play had that same thing. It only had a certain number of play experiences that could work inside of this. And so it limited what the experience was. Whereas with NFTs, you're really expanding the field. And I think that's something that is going to be embraced by a lot of innovators. I think the challenge right now is you've got the incumbents and they've got their business models and they've got their, they're publicly traded in many cases, and they're difficult to move that aircraft carrier or whatever to a different trajectory. And that's why the nimble developers that are now getting funded in this space are really going to be able to take advantage of that. Interoperability is going to be mission critical. Having been deep into what it takes to build games and the technologies behind it, it may be that the blockchain enables that, but for everybody to adopt it is going to take a minute. And, like with our platform with Prasaga, we're looking at how the Saga chain can actually enable that at a DNA level for fractionalization of assets and liquidity in a very much more fluid way than what we see right now in a lot of the platforms that are out there.
And Adrien, I know you partner with a lot of different companies as well. What are you seeing as to who is the most open to incorporating NFTs in gaming?
I think the most important in NFTs is also the link with art, because it begins like that. And now a lot of artists are becoming really free and can jump from a company to another only for what they know to do. I had a collective of artists 25 years ago in Paris. And unfortunately, the most talented artists went to California, as I was saying. And now they are a bit bitter because when you are in Disney and you are working for 2 years only on the parrot of Aladdin, it's really not cool when you are a real artist, even if you are paid 20,000 a month. So now with the NFT, it's changing totally the game. Because you can create something which is your own, sell it, find your client directly. And what is really great is a collaboration also between the clients and the investors, because they give the good artist to the others. Because if you invest in an artist, it's better that your friend invests in this artist, because like that, they are more powerful. So after, if you bring it to the game, as he said, you can have an asset and play in different games, because I think more and more the different platform will collaborate. And if you have a game, it's better to have a metaverse with your friends who have other games. So that's why I think the biggest metaverse will be the metaverse with a lot of different companies collaborating together, because you can have a metaverse on the moon, on Mars, on different planets. You can create other galaxies, and you have only one entrance. If you need to change each time your device or your tools to learn a new game, you will lose your customers. You want to stay in one universe, and you want, as Disney is not doing well with Star Wars, but Star Wars could be a whole metaverse of many universe, but also bringing the Marvel inside, etc., etc. You see what I mean? So that's why I think you need to think about art. You think about ID. You think about creation and beauty and this kind of thing, which are also making our brain evolving. There is a lot of study showing that art is making your brain evolve, and like that you can learn different things. That's why it's a real revolution, because it's bringing collaboration inside the game, and also the software are really more powerful now. At the beginning with, for example, Cross the Edges, I was doing one character with 3 people in 3 weeks, okay, in Maya or in Unity. Now you have Unreal, and you can do one character in 1 week. And it's even better because you have only one artist taking care of one character and developing all the universe around this character. So the software and also, you know, the computer are going faster and faster. So I really believe that in 1, 2, 3 years, you will be able to make a Marvel movie with a team of like 15 people. And I'm not joking about that. I'm really believing this, because you lose all the intermediary. That's what the blockchain is bringing. That's what internet is bringing. You don't need people who are useless. I'm sorry to say that, but you need to talk to the people who know what to do, and you need to have a direct contact with them.
If I could add something, I think that, so I worked with the company called Immutable that produces the 3rd largest NFT minting platform today, Immutable X. Really cool if you haven't checked it out. And so I spoke to dozens of traditional either gaming companies or game teams that were actually producing games. And so I got to hear for a course of almost a year, lots of nuanced negative feedback and friction points of adoption of NFTs. And I would really put it from 2 different ways. One is that many game studios or game development companies, like the Marvel and the Disneys of the world, they don't see how this benefits them. Everybody recognizes how this benefits the consumer. An ownership economy, an economy where somebody can create a secondary market where it's interoperable, where a third party can come and build on top of the collection that you've gained, that benefits the consumer. But in many cases with the traditional business models that we have for these large companies, it doesn't directly benefit them. And that's actually why I am so bullish on the industry, because when you have something that's so disruptive and so clearly is a game changer for the consumers, then it just becomes a tidal wave that's just going to break through at some point, because the old guard is going to try as hard as they can to prevent it, but they won't be able to. Now, in your point about the indie developer that doesn't want to hear about it, that usually from what I've heard comes from two different angles. One is environmental concerns, because there's a connection of use of electricity to NFTs. I think that that's mostly around misinformation and bad press around Bitcoin. But the majority of NFTs today are being produced for very little electricity on proof of stake platforms that have nothing to do with the environmental concerns that you hear about in the news. And then the second is that this is where we're at a hype cycle right now, where there's lots of people that are just taking any classic game, like let's take Age of Empires, but with NFTs. Or let's take Monkey Island, but with NFTs. And so that causes a lot of eye rolling against artists that are game developers. So as we're going through this transition, whether it's from the large companies that are producing or that are providing friction against it, or the indie developers and artists that are providing friction against it, I think that this is just a natural birth pain, so to speak, of an emerging industry, and that all of these things, we're going to look back on this 10 years ago, and we're going to say, well, of course it was inevitable, because I do believe that the ownership that NFTs provide is inevitable.
Remember one thing: Facebook has lost 40% of its value, and companies like Axie Infinity or Smartbox were not existing 2 years ago, and now they are more than 10 billion. So the revolution is already.
And I would like to add about some other big traditional gaming development companies. Probably the biggest bet is from the side of Ubisoft. They as well have their own blockchain gaming fund, and they invest into a lot of blockchain gaming startups. And still from the side of investors, I hear that they're still waiting for better user experience in blockchain games because usually people who build blockchain games come not with gaming background, but just from crypto. And unfortunately, many of those people are just for the quick gains. But still, I think we will see bigger development of this industry and better games with better user experience. And as well, there was mentioned Immutable X. I know that GameStop has partnered with Immutable X, and they have a 150 million fund to fund different NFT gaming projects. And another game is called Legacy. It's built by Pether and it's the first game by traditional gaming developer where the user to play has to buy NFTs.
Brilliant, thanks, Anna. And I just wanted to pick up on one of the points you made about, for the consumer. And we have less than a minute left, so I'm going to ask the closing question to you, Toby, because you've just been in Cambodia. And what impact do you think that NFTs and gaming can particularly have on emerging market economies?
Yeah, I think that's a very, very good question. I just came back from Cambodia last night. And even in Cambodia, which is the second poorest country in Asia, according to GDP per capita, they already know about NFTs, right? They have, they own a wallet, like a lot of these people, they have played Axie Infinity, and they actually make 3 to 4 times their normal salary playing video games right now. And if you put this on scale in a country called Philippines, for example, we had call centers. I mean, these are hundreds of people working in call centers and taking calls. Now what they're doing is they're playing Axie Infinity, right? And actually making 3 to 4x more money for the whole company, but even for the people within working there. And we're, for example, also very excited about a market in India where we just invested in a company called IndieGG, which is kind of supporting the guild community out of India. There's 400 or more than 400 million players, which is still relatively untapped right now. A lot of other backers like Sequoia and Lightspeed believed in the project, and that's where we sort of see the journey going, right? I mean, especially these markets that have a very young population, people are eager to participate in the digital wave, know how to use all these technologies. There's a lot of developers in these markets. So I do think that there will be a big push, right? Even Axie Infinity was a company out of Vietnam. Right now it's a $10 billion worth of company, which is fascinating to see that these borders are just like getting invisible from developed or not developed markets.
Great, thanks, Toby. And that's a very optimistic note to end on. We are out of time, and Hattie is gesticulating at me wildly. So very quick overview of NFTs and disrupting gaming. Thank you so much to my 5 panelists, and hope you enjoyed the discussion.
Great conversation. Thank you so much. I think we're going to clear the stage about this stuff.